Hey guys. That was a magnet. I'm going to give you a second to hop on. I just got a new computer, so I forgot how painful that is, right? Because you lose all of your stuff that you have saved. My kids were super awesome. They moved my hard drive over at least, so I have all of my files, but it's just like the things that I didn't think about. So like logging into every freaking thing that I have on my computer, whether it's Zoom or Restream or Facebook or whatever. And I still have to tell you the one of the best ones was I was trying to log into something yesterday so I could finish a project, and it was telling me that my login wasn't right. So I couldn't remember what the heck my password was. And I know, right? I should write this all down. And I'm really good if it's like a website that has to do with paying my bills. But if it's something along the lines of like a website that I use to create like images or graphics or something like that, I'm not always the greatest at writing down the login and the password. Do you think I would learn my lesson by now? So I was trying to figure out my login and password, but the email that my account was attached to, I couldn't remember the password to get into my email. So round and round the circle I went. I couldn't log into either one of them. And no matter what I told the thing, it was like, you know, enter your, I don't remember what, I know what it was. It was asking me to enter my last remembered password. And apparently I also couldn't remember the last password that I used because of none of those were right. And then I got into that thing where it starts showing you all the pictures, right? And it's like click on the boxes that have the bridges or the traffic lights or whatever, which then just really starts to get on your nerves. And then it did that stupid thing where it puts all the weird curvy letters, and I don't know if anyone can actually read any of those. So on top of the fact that you're already starting to get frustrated because you can't remember your login and password, now you're clicking on all these stupid pictures, and then you have to try to put in the little letters on the bottom. And I think this was my Gmail that I couldn't get into, and I couldn't read any of the letters. And so round and around the circle it went, and I was trying to maintain a level of composure and not, take it out on anyone else. But man, it was really frustrating for me. Okay, so now that you guys are here, let's talk about what the topic for today's Monday Soul Deliciousness. So if you are new and you haven't seen me before, my name is Amy Jorgensen, and I own the Soul Centered Academy. So my platform is based off of getting yourself to a place where you are balanced mind, body, soul. So I do lots of stuff around reprogramming the mind and also on releasing things from your past, from your subconscious. And I also teach human design, which is my favorite. If someone were to ask me, like, what one of the things that you do, hypnosis, all that jazz, is your favorite thing, and it's definitely human design. I think if you really want to change your life, the quickest, diving into my human design course or having a human design reading is ultimately just it's mind blowing to me still when I talk about it, but I love it. So there you go. Today, though, we're going to talk about being unapologetically you. It seems to be the theme of the day. It seems to be what keeps popping up for me when I'm talking to other people. So we're going to go down that rabbit hole. Being unapologetically you is something I will 100% tell you that I have completely mastered, because I really just don't care what other people think. And if I were to have said that even 3 years ago, I would have been like, wow, that's pretty selfish. That's pretty arrogant. And it's really not. It's just that I don't have anything to prove to anybody else. So I will do what makes me happy. I still have guidelines, right? I'm not going to do something that makes me happy that's hurtful to someone else. But as far as worrying about what I look like, or worrying about how I'm dressed, or worrying about how I'm acting, I just do, I do me. Like, really, I just act the way that I know my true identity, my true personality is. And that's where the human design comes into play. I know who I am. I read my human design and I know exactly who I am and I know what makes me tick and I know all about my personality. I know all about my personality on the cognitive level, the things that I am aware that I do. I know all my personality on the subconscious level, the things that I don't necessarily know that I do. And just having that awareness when something happens, I realize that, wow, that's me. That's me actually doing that. And I use it to my advantage instead of judging myself and being like, wow, why are you doing that? Because there's certain things about your personality and about how you're acting that can be changed. And there's certain things about you that are very consistent in those types of defined parts of your energy system or your personality. They can't be changed. And so, it's kind of cool too, because I'm going through, I've filed for a divorce and I'm going through all of that. And so, one of the things that is really interesting with that is that when people find out, it's almost as though someone has died. And I get a lot of like, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. And it's a lot of negativity. And then I realized, like, right after I started talking about it, there was actually some guilt associated with that, of like people almost projecting it as a failed thing in my life. And, if there's something to be learned from a thing that I've gone through, I'm going to share it with you because that's what my whole profile is on. It's keeping it real, telling you about the things that I go through. I'm not one of those social media influencers that's just, taking cute pictures and making my little dream life look like it's so perfect for you, because that's not. I'm going to say it. My life can be a shit show just like yours. And so I show it because I don't feel like there's any purpose in making it something that it's not. So going back to this, being unapologetically yourself, it's been a lot of reflection because I'm obviously older than I've ever been, right? And my first marriage, for those of you that haven't followed me, unfortunately, my husband lost his life to his own hands, so to speak. And after that, I was a broken mess, and I can reflect back and see what kind of self-sabotaging behaviors I had. And so, this go around, it's like, man, I feel like I understand myself and I have it together, which means that it's very different. And I catch myself being like, this is me and I am being me, and I expect other people to be themselves. And in no way, shape, or form will I ever get into a relationship again where I feel like I have to change someone. Um, and that's a place, that's a spot of spiritual maturity, that I think you get to, where you realize that if we all acted our complete unapologetic selves, you would mesh with the person that you need to mesh with, and you wouldn't need to change anyone or have a desire to change anyone. And so, it's like, hey, you be here with me, or then I know that's not right. My purpose, my person. And the other thing too is, in the past, I've been so desperate to like have that companionship. And now it's like, no, I'm healthy and happy and independent, and I'm okay with that. And I don't have this like, oh my gosh, I'm lonely and I need to fill that space. And so, really growth can be, it can be super difficult, right? I've been through a lot of stuff to get to this place. And when I was going through those things, they seemed rather horrifying. But now that I'm here, it's like, okay, everything made sense. And I can now see how I think a lot differently and how I act a lot differently than I would have before. So when we're talking about past conditioning, it basically means that you're acting off of things that you've been told in your life that have become your beliefs, and you don't even necessarily actually believe them. So, coming back to this space for myself, right? Going through this this divorce separation thing, I get all this unsolicited advice from people about how I should feel, what I should be doing, that I'm not doing it the way that, I should. And then it just turns into this like snowball, right? And that I should be kind of in this woe is me space and sort of guilt ridden. Did someone die? And then it's like, hold on here. Hold on here. Whose belief is it that I need to feel miserable in this space? Well, it's other people's beliefs. Now, does this always happen this way? Is it always a positive for people? Absolutely not. Do I choose to view my situation as a positive? Absolutely. Does it mean that everything about what is happening to me is sunshine and butterflies? No. But everything is a space for growth. Everything is a space for you to become something more. And that's how I choose to view things. Things in my world are not failures. Things in my world are ways to progress. So, it's amazing how changing your mindset slightly can basically completely morph your life into something different. Like literally, the power is up here. It's not anybody else. It's not um, any situation. It's basically what is going on in your head. And I was talking to somebody earlier today. We were talking about, and we're going to go into this a little bit, just that conditioning of, where you think you should be right now. And where you should be at a point in your life at this age. And it's back to my title. Says who? Who says that at the age of, we can just use my age, I'm okay with that. At the age of 42, I should be doing XYZ. Who came up with that? It's a conditioned belief that has been ingrained into my head that at this age, this is where I should be, in a career with kids that are this specific age, owning a house, having a dog, blah, 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 right? Cooking dinner every night, having a clean house, whatever that is. I don't know about you, but honestly, none of that stuff has happened for me like I imagined that it would when I was a kid. So here comes my child, actually. I can hear him. He's going to come busting through the door and he's singing. That's good, child. Keep singing because life can get you down. But as I was talking to someone this morning, I was like, okay, here's the thing. If you sit and you worry and you're fretting about where are you going to be in 5 years. So, right? I mean, that's something, especially in my situation, that could be like, wow, I feel like I just had my security blanket pulled off. Where am I going to be in 5 years financially? As a single mom, raising kids, living on one income, like what does that look like for me? And I choose to just not look at it, which for some of you is like, whoa, that's kind of dangerous. Like, how do you know where you're going? It doesn't matter to me. I'm going where I'm going right now in this moment because that is the only thing I have control over. 5 years from now, I have no flipping idea what's going to be going on. I have no idea what's going on with the economy. I have no idea where the world's going to be. I have no idea if I'm going to be alive. I have no idea. So much can happen in the space of 5 years. So I choose to focus on what is happening to me right now in this moment. That is where your power is. That is where your power is. The other problem is if you look that far ahead and you think to yourself, dang, given my current situation, I bet in 5 years from now, I could be in a hot mess. If that's, I'm just listening to my kid. If that's the mentality that you have, guess what you will do? I will guarantee that you are writing yourself out a check to have happen with whatever you are aligned with happening, because that is how your subconscious works. It hears you saying, I bet in 5 years from now, I'm going to be super desolate. And guess what it does? It likes to please. And so that's exactly what's going to happen for you. You're going to start making decisions. They're going to lead you into that space. And then in 5 years, you're going to be like, wow, this is exactly like what I thought was going to happen. And you are completely right because you made it happen exactly that way. So if you're going to focus on the future, don't think things like in 5 years from now, I'm going to be successful. For those of you that follow me a lot, you know this one is huge. I harp on it a lot. If I say I'm going to be successful when I have 3 conferences lined up in the spring, what will I do to myself? I will never be successful until I have 3 conferences lined up in the spring. And because I don't feel successful until I do that, how am I going to get it done? You see how you go into this cycle where you're like, okay, I'm not successful because I don't have 3 conferences. Well, I don't have 3 conferences, so I'm not successful. Perfect. And then my subconscious is like, you are aligned. You are not successful. Then how well do you think my business runs? It doesn't. Because then I start sitting there and I'm like, why do I feel like I'm not successful? And, it's because I've aligned myself with exactly what I said. So be really careful about that. So coming back to this conditioning thing, we are so conditioned. We are so conditioned. It's disgusting, actually, how conditioned you are. You were conditioned for how you were supposed to act, right? Like, oh, I get that all the time because I'm a wild card. And people are like, you can't act like that in a meeting. Well, says who? Says you? Like, where's the book on Amy, you're not allowed to do that in a meeting. Now, granted, lucky for me, I work with an amazing group of people. And I think they've just gotten to the point where they're like, that's her, like, right? And they get it. And so nobody really, bats an eye at the things that I do or say because that's me. And if you are scared about me being in your meeting, then you should just not invite me to your meeting. And then we won't have an issue. Okay. So how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to feel. Like, go back to my situation. Oh my goodness, you're getting a divorce. Oh, you should be so sad. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. I mean, when my first husband passed away, I remember my mom, she means well, but she was like, I just don't know how you're functioning. I just don't know how you're not in your room, just locked in your room, just locked in there, just crying. And, it's not that I'm heartless, but the matter of the fact is that would be great. And I would love to do that. But who in the world is going to take care of my kids if I decide to become that? And all I could think about was like a book or a movie that I watched before where you read about the poor kids saying that, oh, my mom became an alcoholic and she never left her room. And so me and my brother had to raise ourselves. I was like, no, 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 no. I don't want that for my family. So I chose to make the best of my situation. Was it easy? No. Was it pretty? No. Was there a lot that I had to overcome? Absolutely. But, people tell you how to eat, what you should or shouldn't eat, what you should or shouldn't wear, how you should drive, what you should drive, what houses you should buy. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Every single thing that you do is based off of something that you heard or saw, and that is the past conditioning for you. And so when you don't follow that, which many of us can't anyways, then you feel depressed. You feel like you're not successful. You feel like you are not achieving things. You feel like you're behind. You feel unworthy of stuff. And it just turns into this gigantic snowball. And then you sit there every day and, at some point you're like, bag it. You give up because you're like, there is no point. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I should be. I'm not where, you're comparing yourself to other people. I'm not where my friend is. I'm not where my sister is. And it just goes on and on and on to the point where you basically just run yourself into the ground. And then you have no desire to do anything because you have no purpose. And, without a purpose, you're in survival mode. And that is an ugly place to be. Now, I do want to tell you, been there, done that. If you were in survival mode after my daughter died, 100%, I was floating along. I mean, I had become so numb. I had become so numb to life after my baby passed away that I went to work the day after I buried her. Tayson, I went to work the day after I buried my daughter because I didn't want to feel anything. I was living in survival mode. I just wanted to be in a state of numbness. I didn't want to address anything. And I went into a really icky place. I mean, I fell down the rabbit hole. if you looked at me from the outside, you would have thought that I was fine. But you know, I was definitely really, really suffering. So, you know, and some of that was based off of my conditioning, that I grew up being very pressured into always being at the top, being at the top of my class, being at the top of my career, being at the top of the ladder, just go, 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 right? So conditioned to believe that I couldn't feel things, that if I did allow myself to go into that space, that I would be weak, and that wasn't acceptable. And so, you know, some of that comes from there. So just be mindful. So how do you stop? How do you stop this? So first of all, awareness is always the number one thing. You got to be aware. So what beliefs am I acting on that are not even mine? So here's what happens too. You have these amazing filtration systems with your emotions. So you get into this space where, depending on how your energy is put together, you are going to filter things based off of your past. You're going to filter things based off of what you have going on in the present. You're going to filter things based off of what's going on in the future. Now, each of us are designed a little bit different as to how we do that. So for some of you, you're really focused on the past. For some of you, you're really focused on what's happening right now. And for some of you, you're really focused on the future. And some people, it's kind of like a nice little melting of all three. So depending on how that goes for you. So having awareness of that is big, especially for me, because I tend to focus a lot on filtering things through the past, and then also focusing on fear. Ow, hello. Fear of the future, fear of what's happening, fear of what could be. And I would get really caught in that space. So have some awareness if you're really doing that and how you're filtering stuff. Hey, buddy. And then this is another one that I like to do. So if you're really caught up in a belief, so just because of my background, I've worked with clients before where they have a belief and it's really bothering them, and they've decided that they're going to do the opposite of what they've been taught growing up. And so then they really start struggling with it, because they start having all this guilt, and they're like, I'm really having a hard time because I decided to do this. And then I'll say to them, okay, you know, whose belief is it that you're acting off of? Like, whose belief, who told you that doing this is wrong? And I'm not talking about a thing where somebody's like robbing a store or something. This is something very specific to a culture. And so that culture believes that there's something wrong with it. But outside of that culture, it's really not. My dog has been in the pond, and I just shampooed my carpets. Yep. Go, buddy. Go out. Ah, okay. It's one of those moments, right? You just take a Zen. It's okay. So then I would ask, you know, whose belief is this? And it always comes back, oh, well, this is what I was taught. This is what my parents said. Okay, perfect. So then I'll say, do you actually believe this? And they'll be like, no, I really don't. I don't believe it at all. And that's where the problem is. Okay, so what's going to happen if you choose to believe outside of what you've been taught? And usually the answer is still nothing, really. I mean, I feel guilt about it. Okay, perfect. So is what you're telling me is it's really not your belief, and nothing really is going to happen if you don't do that belief. And then they're like, okay, cool. And it's just that awareness of being like, so that's not even your belief. That's someone else's belief that you're acting off of, and you're driving your life based off of a belief that isn't even yours. And that awareness, they're usually like, oh, no, no, no. Of course, he's going to go in the other room that I also shampooed, right? Okay, so let's do this. So I have people all the time be like, Amy, you're so happy. How can you be so positive all the time? It's all about creating your own reality. Just like this. Like, my dog is walking through my house. He's been outside in the pond. I just shampooed my carpet, so they're still even partially damp, right? But I have to choose to be in the space of, okay, what can I or can I not do about this? And, some of my military picks up, and then I'm like, is anyone actually going to die from this? No, no one's going to die from my dog laying on my floor, making it smell. Right. So that's why, is because I choose to create my own reality. I choose what I believe. I choose to decide how I let things affect me. Clear away, do that for yourself. Clear away all the garbage, all of the stuff that's been shoved into your head for how you think you should act, where you think you should be. Just let it go. I give you permission to create your own reality. Align with what feels right for you and stop trying to be this person that you think your mom thought, the person that you think your parents wanted you to be, the person that you think your mom needs you to be, right? And just let it go. It's not worth it. And you're going to give away all your power if you continue to do that. So be unapologetically you. Stop worrying about what other people think. Really, and I always say too, like, if you're not signing my paycheck, then I really don't care. So I will, I do give my employer some of that respect because I have to survive. But other than that, just let it go. Okay, guys, happy Monday. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'm going to go give my dog a